Welcome to this tutorial on Flex connectors in the Data Productivity Cloud. Connectors are vital pipeline components that extract data from source systems and deliver it to downstream processes. For data teams that regularly extract data from various source systems, our connectors, combined with scheduling or data streaming features, simplify both real-time and regular data updates. Flex connectors are pre-configured custom connectors and are available in Designer's orchestration pipelines. We have a whole range of Flex connectors, which are constantly being updated. You can use Flex connectors like any other connector by selecting them from the components list in the Designer. So in my new project, I know I want to use the Asana Flex connector. So I search for it in the Components panel and add it to the canvas. This connector has been created in order to extract data from Asana via Asana's API. As we can see, there are many source endpoints added already to this Flex connector. So if my use case required, I could use this already created connector to get data on tasks, users, workspaces, and much more in Asana. I would just need to fill in a couple more details on the connector, and it's as easy as that. But what if I wanted to add an endpoint to this already created connector? Well, because this is a Flex connector, and Flex connectors are pre-configured custom connectors, this is very easy to do. In my case, I want to add an endpoint to post tasks into Asana via this connector, so I will need to edit this connector. To edit Flex connectors, this can be done by navigating to the Custom Connector interface and scrolling down to the Flex connector library. I will use the Asana Flex connector in this example. However, all other Flex connectors can be modified in a similar way. Before I start editing, I'm going to rename this copy of the Flex connector so I can find it more easily. This can be done by selecting the pencil at the top left. To add a new endpoint, you scroll to the bottom of the Endpoints tab and click Add an Endpoint. You can also clone or delete existing endpoints by clicking the three dots to the right of each endpoint. You can rename endpoints by clicking the pencil icon, and you can edit existing endpoints by clicking on the name of that endpoint. In this case though, I just need to add a new endpoint to post tasks to Asana. So I will scroll to the bottom of the Endpoints tab and click Add an Endpoint. I'll rename the endpoint to indicate what this endpoint is doing. First, I need to define which HTTP method the request is going to use. Custom and Flex connectors support two HTTP methods, GET and POST. For this endpoint, I want to select POST. Next to this, I need to enter the URI or URL of this specific API endpoint. Underneath this, there are several headers I can input data for. The first one is the authentication header. Matillion supports various authentication methods, each suited to different API requirements, including basic authentication, bearer token, API keys, and OAuth. In this case, I'm going to specify a bearer token. You will need to obtain details regarding the authentication method and configuration from the Flex connector provider you are modifying. I can also specify query and URI parameters for the API, but in the case of this endpoint, I do not need to do this, so I will leave it blank. However, I do need to make some header parameters for this endpoint, which I will do now. I'll select the Add a Header Parameter button and enter the relevant name and value information for each header I need to add. When making a post request, the request body contains the data you intend to send to the external resource. The format of this data can vary based on the specific requirements of the API or service you're interacting with. In my case, I need to specify the name of the task I want to add, the project, workspace, and who this task will be assigned to. Different endpoints will have different post body formats, so you will need to check the documentation for the endpoint you are connecting to. Then I'm going to click Send to make a test request. To examine the response body and headers, I'll click the Response tab after clicking Send. Around this point is a good time to click Save at the top right, which will save our connector's configuration. Remember that the custom connector does not save any authentication data that is entered here in the Authentication tab. We only use the authentication data here so that we can test the connector. Authentication will be required again later when using the component in a pipeline. Now that the connector is set up, saved, and returning a valid response, I can use it in the designer. Here, I will find my newly edited Flex connector in the Components panel and add it to the canvas. As you can see, the unedited version of the connector remains available even after making your own versions. In the Connect panel, we can see the list of endpoints for the Flex connector in the data source property, including the new one we've just created, which I will select. I'll also go ahead and fill in the details for the authentication. The token for the authentication type will need to be set up in the Secret Definitions section of the Data Productivity Cloud, which you can get to by clicking the Manage button if you haven't done this already. In the Configure tab, I need to specify header and post body parameters for this particular endpoint. In the Destination tab, I need to specify where my data is going to be extracted to, so I'm going to select Snowflake. My environment defaults are automatically applied to the warehouse, database, and schema settings. So all that is left to do is specify a table name for this data to be extracted into. So now I can validate the pipeline, and if it validates successfully, I will run it. As we can see in Asana, my new task has been created, therefore indicating I have successfully added an endpoint to this already existing Asana Flex connector. By editing already existing Flex connectors, updating our pipelines for new endpoints couldn't be any easier in the Data Productivity Cloud. If you found this tutorial helpful, please subscribe to our channel for more videos on the Data Productivity Cloud. To learn more about getting started with Matillion, visit matillion.com.